Carpenter. We are at our homestead deep in the woods of the Rocky Mountains of northern Idaho. And today, I just want to talk a little bit about the journey and kind of the setbacks a little bit, but just a little bit of a back to basics. We're getting ready to come right to the end of the culmination of releasing the Rocket Mass heater book, and it's one of the things of finishing that's forced me to do is go through a lot of my old footage. And I looked back at some of my old footage right after the first Do Carpenter University, where people came from all around, and we built a half a dozen of these stoves all together. And I'm not sure everyone understands that the stoves had never been built. I had not built one prior to that. All they were drawings on paper, and these people had to put money forward so that I could even get the materials to build those stoves. And when I first did the first test burns on them, my jaw was dropped. I'm like, what the hell did I do here? It was just amazing. And I was going through some of my old footage, and I was looking back at how excited I was, you know. But I had gotten in a car accident. Even during that Do Carpenter University, I was just getting huge migraines and everything. And for whatever reason, I just started to spiral downwards. And I couldn't think, I couldn't sit down in front of the computer, I couldn't finish my book, and the further downward I would spiral, and it just seemed like everything was slipping away from me. And you know, I remember when we pulled the main video that I shot after that course, and it had the pre-order information for the book and everything, and Melanie's like, you know, we're not going to be able to finish this. We can't keep selling these pre-orders. And it was hard. It was hard for me. I felt like the further I slipped away from my dreams, it's a hard thing to explain. You know, brain injuries are weird. You know, they're weird. There was one song that I heard that I identified with, and it was Rocket Man. No pun intended. You know, because I'm the deal for the rocket stove. But, you know, it's the lyrics of it just really hit home with me. You know, I'm a rocket man, burning out my fuse up here alone. And it's going to be a long, long time before touchdown sees me coming back home, and they're going to all realize I'm not the same man I was at home. It just, it was a hard thing for me. And anyways, let's look at some comments real quick. And
well, first, I do know that he wanted to talk about this stove. This is a stove that Darwin built himself, the one that he's talking about that we built in the university. And it is an amazing stove.
Amazing. It completely saved us this winter. And I mean,
step to the side, I'm going to pan down a little bit and show him the whole stove right there. So you see that, you guys? That's the stove right there, and it is an amazing stove. Yes, it keeps this house nice and warm and toasty and everything. All right, yeah, let's go ahead and answer some questions if you guys have any questions. All right. William says, good morning, everyone. Well, good morning, William. We got Farms Homestead says, good morning, y'all. Good morning.
Good morning.
Jeff says, hi, I'm here. I'm here. Hi, Jeff. Tim Sky says, good afternoon. I totally hope another workshop is in the making. Yes, we are planning on another workshop. Tim Fox says, good morning, Darwin and Melanie. Wonderful news about the coming completion of the rocket mass heater. It is, yes, wonderful news. Thank you. It's been arduous journey for you all, but it's an exciting development for you all. That couldn't have been better said, Tim. Thank you. Jeff says, would help teach a class to build rocket stoves. That's awesome, Jeff. We'll have to consider that. That'd be cool. A peaceful wolf retirement. I said that backwards. Salute to you guys from Montreal, Quebec. Love your family attitude. Oh, thank you so much. That's so nice. Earl says hello from Maynooth, Ontario. I probably said it wrong. Jeff says maybe might be easier to hold class at my place in Montana. Is it Montana? MT?
Yeah.
Okay.
Montana.
Yeah. Tim says yes. We have thought about traveling around different places and doing
remote classes in different regions because of how expensive it is for people to travel. But we're not just logistically set up
point yet.
To do that yet. But it's it is something that we do want to eventually do. And one of the things, as I was going back through all the old footage and whatnot, that I don't know if people realize I'm not the aircrete guy. I mean, I am in that, but that's not how aircrete came about. Melanie's friend Julie, who helped us get our channel started, she saw some of the things I had created in our shop, and she was like, okay, you just need to follow him around with a camera. And she brought me a book from Erica and Ernie Weisner, and she said, can you build me one of these? But it has to go in a little cabin, so it can't weigh a ton. And, it was
a lot of different parameters.
A lot of different parameters, and I was like, oh, I think I could probably do it. And, no, I didn't say that. Melanie said,
of course my husband can do that.
He can build anything.
Yeah, that's exactly
and so I built a prototype, completely out of reclaimed items, Yeah,
the first one was
an air compressor tank and some old stainless steel water heater tanks and different things. And Julie loved it. It's like, it really looked good. But the first prototype had a little bit of a fail. It didn't work, and I went back and redid the math, and I thought I had to have a smaller burn box because of the way heat energy moves, and it had to be insulated. And we had to contain the energy and let it release it when we wanted it to release. And it was quite a journey. And you look back on Dirt Patch Heaven, or now it's Idaho Family Farms channel, on some of her older videos of when we were developing this thing. The first few tries were complete fails, and then it worked. It worked, but I had made a 1/4-inch steel burn chamber, and it melted out, but everything else worked. My math was right on everything else, and I discovered aircrete. And the reason I discovered aircrete was as a medium to insulate and hold heat energy where I wanted to hold it, and with the aircrete insulated stovepipe and that. So that is how I got into aircrete, was while I was inventing a rocket stove for Julie. And so I went to the drawing board and I started, and I put this whole journey, a lot of these videos of my old conceptual drawings, and they look just like this. The stove ended up looking just like my drawings. So, it had never been built before. You know, we put it up on Kickstarter as something that was a conceptual idea, and I wanted to bring it to fruition. And, you know, could you guys help us out? And there was enough people from around the, you know, from Canada, all around the United States that came and wanted to help us out. And we built the first prototypes, and this is one of them, in that class back in 2019. And that, I just remember, I looked back at some of my old footage and how excited I was about the test results. But then at the same time, Melanie and I were like, we're in a rental house. We can't augment the house, and we can't live with our stove. And we tried to buy some parcels of land around closer to us in Idaho Falls, and everything fell through. The first 3 land deals we tried to do fell through. And,
Yep.
you know, it was, and this has been a long time coming. We realized we couldn't buy, because we had such a new business and the banks wouldn't loan us the money. We couldn't buy some land with a structure or home on it. We just had to buy a cheap piece of raw land and develop it ourselves. And I thought, oh yeah, I can cut a road in, I can do this and I can do that, and it'll all be done in 6 months. And here we are, 2 years later. My son's back there laughing at me.
Like, it takes years, even months, to build a house, Dad.
Yeah.
As you thought you could do it in 6 months?
Yeah. So anyways,
Sorry.
you know, our whole idea behind getting our own place, and we hadn't really planned on building a homestead. We didn't really care if it was a homestead or on the grid or everything. But we were inspired by Julie, because that's what she had chosen to do, was, you know, for a time anyway. And so it's been a long time coming. It's been a big journey. And I'm not, there were a time when it seemed like I was just spiraling downward, and I went through some bouts of depression, you know, and it was hard to get my feet back under me and get my bearings going. And even this last fall, you know, calls and words of encouragement from Julie were just like
Night and day.
night and day, just huge. You know, she was like, you got this. Look how far along you are. That is crazy. You know, and so we just want to send out a big thank you to Idaho Family Farms, to John and Julie, and go check them out if you haven't.
Bruce H., you are 100% correct. Yes, the only stove that burns super hot when wet wood.
Yeah.
Wet wood, yes. Tim says, same here, Asheville, North Connecticut. I said, I don't know. I always question myself, but yeah. Christopher, hello from Knoxville, Tennessee. Craig says, greetings from the Mississippi Gulf Coast. Hope you're doing well. Thank you. Jeff says, I'm near a resort town, so close to lodging. That's cool.
Ken Nelson, he says, like, subscribe, and share.
Yes. Thank you for that, Ken. You're so awesome. Chris says, would love to learn more on your aircrete. I used perlite and did my first forms from a mass rocket heater. I'm excited to test it. Thank you for all your passion, as it has led to mine.
Aww.
Thank you, Chris. That's so nice. Antonio says, hello from Tennessee. Tim says, keep your chin up. Everything will work itself out. You have a great support right next to you. I still like watching your aircrete videos. Aw, thank you. We still like aircrete. We still are going to insulate with aircrete here in this house and everything like that. It's just not everything our channel's about.
Yeah, you know what, guys? Especially in the tumultuous world that we live in today, I think having...
Mom, a cow is going in 100 It's coming in pretty fast.
My son wants to
Oh.
show you guys. There, I don't know. Let's see if we can see. It might be too bright, but there's a cloud coming in, and so we're like kind of getting all foggy.
Yeah, sometimes we live up in the clouds.
Can you see that a little bit? Sorry about that, you guys. All right, buddy.
Pretty common.
What was I talking about, Dave?
I'm sorry, I don't know.
It's
What a
okay,
moment.
buddy.
I'm sorry, you guys.
Right.
It's okay.
My son got super excited.
He-
All right.
You know, it's crazy living up here. It's like for my boys, every day is an adventure, you know, and you just see something new, and they're like, they look out over our view, and they're like, there's this sea of clouds, and they're way down low, and then they just start coming up the hill like 60 miles an hour or something. It feels like, and it's just, you know, the wonderment of childhood. It's awesome.
Right. Tim Fox says, remember, review and revise your 5-year plan every quarter. It's all about how you eat an elephant, one bite at a time.
Wow, that's good. Review and revise. It's like do small pivots and shifts every quarter. That's good advice.
That is good advice. I mean, we have our goals written down, but
Yeah.
review and revise. I like that. Thank you. You should all patent aircrete rocket stoves. We have talked about that. We have a lot of people that say that we should do that. We have considered it and looked into it, but we also find out that all they have to do is change one little thing, and then they can do it themselves. And
Yeah, patent laws are kind of antiquated, and basically, all of our journey of inventing this thing are time stamped and dated. They're out there, you know.
Tim Fox says reorder your priorities during those quarterly reviews. Just look at how far you've come in the last 5 years, and you should be justifiably proud of your accomplishments thus far. Well done. That's well said. I mean, that is well said. I think he's right.
The stove has been going for like an hour and 15 minutes or an hour and a half now. So it's probably down to coals. Let's put another piece of wood in and show them what.
Do you guys want to see another piece of wood get put in?
How about just a great big full log?
Trying to balance myself. Okay, there we
Yeah.
go.
So that's a pretty good sized log. The burn chamber is 7 by 7. So you can't put a huge log in, but you see it's just got some coals in the back. And you put a log or two in. Let me see if I can get a second one. I don't know if it'll fit. Yeah, it will.
Just play Tetris, huh?
No.
I just got bumped. Sorry.
The dog.
And there's the rocket.
Every time, you guys, every time you hear that little roar, Darwin's like, do you guys hear that? Do you guys hear that?
And guys, I always save all my bark and everything because this stuff, it just eats bark like nobody's business. I mean, I just.
Hey. You guys, I just keep getting bumped by the puppies. You see, they're having fun and playing right now.
That's what really cute. It's so fun.
What do you guys think of Dad's rocket stove?
It's really It's the best stove ever. It like can burn for half an hour and does coals and no stoves can't do that where you just put in another piece of wood and it goes up in flames. You need to light it with something with that.
All right.
Yeah, there's even times when we let it go almost completely cold, and there's just a few little embers back
Boys,
there.
can you put the dogs out, please?
How is Barney?
Sorry, you guys. I know it's all hectic right now. Everyone's getting involved in this. Yeah, you can tip it up. There we go.
But you know, there are times when we just forget about it because it gets pretty warm, and it really continues giving off a lot of heat even after it burns out. And it's just like there's almost no coals in it, just a couple of embers back there. However, the burn chamber, you know, when it's burning like and rocketing like it is now, is at about 25 to 3,000 degrees, 2,500 to 3,000 degrees. And it holds that temperature for a long time because it has the aircrete insulation around it. And so it looks like it's just an empty shell in there. There might be a couple little coals, so you know it's still hot. You throw some wood in, and Melanie will throw it in, and then she'll just shut the door and say, it'll take off in a minute. You know, and 4 or 5 minutes later, it has heated up that wood and started gassing it off, because it acts like a gasification chamber actually, and it starts gassing off, and then it hits that flash point, and we're just here doing something else or whatever, and it goes and it just makes that roar when it starts up.
You see his face when he talks about that?
Yeah. So
He's excited.
anyways, it's kind of a cool thing. But I know what I was talking about. From a survival standpoint, with the tumultuous situation we have in the world these days, it'd be really good to have some type of a personal heat source that can pretty much burn anything. You know, I really like yesterday. We were pulling logs out of the snow and the ice that were fresh cut this last fall. A friend of ours said, hey, Darwin, I was doing this logging job up here, and I have these slash piles, and there's some pretty big stuff in them. If you want it, you can go up and get it. And some of you have seen that trailer that Dana with ArmySurplusWarehouse.com helped me build, but it has a little boom crane on it. And so, I took my trailer out to these slash piles, and Melanie did most of the work. But we pulled probably at least 4 cord of wood out of there. We have enough wood for all next winter. And this stove's getting hot, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm gonna step up closer. But my back was about 3 feet from the stove, and it does get super hot. It's probably close to 1,000 degrees on the top of it right now. What's crazy, and I've done a
Right now it says,
812.
yeah.
And then 882, so it's rising fast.
Yeah.
So it was 812. I clicked it a little bit later, and then it was
No,
882. So, but he's telling us, it's not the best wood. It's just pine. It's not the good red fir. But if you mix it with some red fir, you can burn it in your wood stove. And I'm like, yeah, my stove doesn't discriminate. It doesn't matter if it's hardwood, softwood, if it's rotten wood. As long as it's carbon organic material, it'll burn it.
And it burns so super
Yeah,
nice.
but you know, and he was telling us, you know, by next year, if you cut it into rounds and split it and get it good and dried and cured out, you can use it by next year. And I'm like, no, we're going to use it right now.
Right. Jeff is wondering where the best place is to run a pipe for steam for hot water on the stove.
Oh, okay.
Don't
So
give
I'm
too
gonna.
much away.
I won't give
It'll
too much
be-
away, but so you can create a steam pump really easily. You have a one-way flapper valve from a gravity-fed water reservoir that goes into a coil in the stove, and that's what we're going to do to distribute the heat evenly throughout the house. There will be a steam pump or a steam radiator, so a hot water radiator in all the rooms upstairs, 4 of them, in the living room and in all the bedrooms. Kylie's, D'Artagnan's, and Tindarius' bedroom. And the way these steam pumps work is obviously there's heat on a coil and there's water inside the coil, and then it heats it up, and then it boils it, and it blows the steam through the pipes, and it creates if you've ever researched like hammer pumps or friction loss in water system, that rush of creates a negative pressure again, and then the flapper valve lets some new water come down in.
But it's a DIY on your own.
Yeah, and I have to be super careful with this because
you have to have.
no, reconnecting.
Oh,
we're live again.
Sorry about that, you guys.
So I just, you know, and I don't even know if I'm going to do a PDF on that one, because anytime you're dealing with steam and high pressure stuff that could explode, all it would take was somebody out there putting one valve that I have in the system in backwards,
right.
And then it could blow up, and the penalty for failure is pretty steep.
All right.
However, I am going to do it, but I don't suggest you do it. This is just, you know.
So Antonio has a question. He was wondering what your thoughts are on the chat GP, the CHAT GP, and how might it be useful in architecture and manufacturing?
So here, this is something that has weighed heavy on my mind. It only came out like 4 or 5 weeks ago, and basically it's a linguistic model of AI, artificial intelligence. Now, this thing, it can pass a really complicated SAT and whatnot at a higher than average level of the average person trying to enter themselves into college. And basically, it's smarter than I am. And for the first time a few days ago, I just went on and made an account and asked it some questions. I've written some.
Darcy, get the dogs.
Yeah, take the dogs out, please, kid. But I've written some poems and different things like that. And we have a lot of material out there. And you ask this thing and give it parameters to give you suggestions and whatnot. You can ask it to write a poem like our Kickstarter poem. I don't know if you guys ever have watched that. I'm going to re-release that.
You're like jumping around on your
it's
right there.
Basically, I haven't come to a conclusion on it. All I know is it's just a little bit scary, because there are other models of it. That's just a linguistic model. And that thing, I watched a video by Jordan Peterson, and he has that book, 12 Rules for Life. He asked it to write an essay for the 13th chapter. in a certain style of the Old Testament and the Tao and whatnot, and it came back, and in 3 seconds it spit out a 3-page essay in 3 seconds. And he said it was indistinguishable to him. It was not evident to him that he did not write it.
Yeah, crazy.
You know, and it's kind of crazy, but I don't know what the implications of it are going to be moving forward.
He thinks it's going to change a lot.
But I think it's going to change the world.
Yeah.
You know.
All right, Beaver Creek Farm Life says howdy from Louisiana. That's awesome. Tam Sky says, at Jeff, you are in my thoughts exactly. However, heated coils incorporated into the rocket stove. Right. Maybe copper pipes and black steel and pipes for better effects. Not just heating coils incorporated in hot water heater, also heating coils for tiles. Yeah.
So that said, I do have some steel coils that I'm going to put in it. Copper melts at a lower temperature than steel. And I just want to make sure that if it ever didn't have water in it and it was dry or whatnot, it wouldn't like melt out in there. And so, you know, I got them once again from Dana at ArmySurplusWarehouse.com, some steel coils. But you're right. Putting a steel coil in and then transferring it sometime down the line to a PEX pipe even would be sufficient probably, because they can take quite a bit of heat.
Yeah, your head's in the clouds. Jason says, the aircrete you are going to use for insulation, are you going to spray it in like you did aircrete stucco or make panels? A little bit of both.
Okay, a little bit of both. You know, so
we're gonna experiment too.
Here's the deal, and if any of you have followed Aircrete Harry, you know he did a mock-up experimental wall where he put some panels against some steel studs and filled it with Aircrete. And one of the main things that he said in there, you know, that I already kind of knew was any little pinhole or anything, the hydraulic pressure when you first pour it in before it starts to have its chemical reaction and stiffen up is going to run out of any little hole. You'll notice anytime I make a form or whatever, like even with the rocket stove where we had it pop riveted and stuff, I put a bead of caulk on there before I poured the aircrete around to hold it in. So it always has to be a sealed thing. And so one thing I invented, well, I didn't invent it, okay? I just made it work with a DIY homeowner's compressor, right? Because the ones that you bought commercially that you put a stucco in and pull the trigger and blow it on the wall just required a huge air compressor with a 1 or 1 1/4 inch hose on a trailer to operate. And so I just invented a smaller one called the Stucco Mate, and you can put stuff in it and blow it on the side of a wall. And I did it for the purpose of creating a hard coat on the outside of aircrete. But that being said, I've been experimenting with different plasters and whatnot, and plaster sand mixtures, to where I can take these OSB walls and where we have the studs and whatnot, and there might be, you know, where the seams come together, that's a place that would need sealed. It would all need sealed. I'm just gonna blow with the Stucco Mate and seal it, and then put my slip form up on it and pour aircrete in it. Now, I personally think I'm gonna do no more than 2 foot at a time. So, you know, we can take a room and we can just seal the whole thing first, and then we can put the 2-foot slip forms at the bottom all the way around, fill it up with aircrete, and of course it's going to have a visqueen or plastic front against the slip form that I put on, and then we'll pull the slip form off and we'll leave the visqueen on while it cures out for like 7 days, but we'll just put more visqueen up and put the slip form up, and it's going to be quite a process. I know you're like, you're giving way too much away. No, not really. But you know, I have 100 inventions and 100 drawings that are set and ready to go for everything from smoke houses to root cellars to, you know, underground bunkers and you know, micro hydro projects, because we have a seasonal creek that runs about 9 months out of the year. And so the great thing about that is it runs during the winter, and we're working on some solar projects right now. And the thing is, during the winter you'll get cloudy days sometimes for a week at a time or whatever. If I augment and have solar and a micro hydro, the micro hydro runs 24/7. That creek runs 24 hours a day, and so my solar batteries will always be getting a charge in the winter. And then during the time when the creek isn't running, guess what we have? Hours and hours and hours of sunlight. And so we're trying to create a self-sufficient property here, and I think we're going to do it, but there's going to be a lot of different workshops about a lot of different subject matters that people really care about, you know, when it comes to these things. Right. One thing Julie said that really hit home when she asked me to build the first rocket stove for her. She was living in a small cabin with her 2 girls, and she was wanting to live, you know, off grid and do this, but she didn't have a heat source and didn't know what to do. So I let her borrow a little army stove that I had while I was creating the rocket stove for her. And she was like, what did she?
That's her camera.
She said, "You make living off grid luxurious," or something like that. She made a statement, and it was like, you know, it really touched me a little bit for whatever reason. I can't remember exactly what she said, but that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to do it step by step, all these projects, and bring it forward and let people know that, you know, maybe they have options. You know,
right?
That they don't have to mortgage their life for 30 years, that they can go get a piece of land. And even though it's a struggle, I'm not saying it's not going to be a struggle and whatnot, because it was a struggle for us, especially when we got caught with a 6-week early winter this year. We considered abandoning the property and going back down south and getting some temporary housing for a time, but our kids were like, "No, we don't want to go back."
Jeff says that if he builds the stoves, he can get a kickback for each one. Of course, we'd work out something. Earl says, "I have been following you from the beginning. Please keep going. You guys inspire many people." Thank you so much, Earl.
Thank you so much.
Tim says, "Love the sound of the roaring wood rocketing." We do too. It's quite amazing. Thank you. And Jeff says, "Looking forward to build steam generators for mushroom production." That's interesting. Mike says, "Hey everyone." What were you going to say? Do you remember? I kind of cut you.
Oh, no, that's fine. I just wanted to say that initial, when you put the wood in, and it just starts to roar and crackle. After a few minutes, it settles down, and it's just a constant just whoa. And it's actually soothing. It's like therapy for me, you know. So.
Antonio says, "Are you guys going to do any farming on your land?" I don't know.
If you call
A garden
animals
farm.
and cows and goats and sheep or something farming, then yeah.
Yeah.
We have
Um,
chickens right now. We are hoping to maybe get some goats or maybe some cows, but that's all down the line, you know. You gotta
Yeah.
get a little situated first, but yeah.
Right, and getting livestock and all that stuff is expensive and whatnot. So
Tim says rocket stoves could replace boiler water gas stoves, right? That'd be awesome.
yeah,
Mike says, what did I miss? We are making a composting methane generator. Rocket stoves, nice. Hey, little buddies. They're saying hi to you, D'Artagnan. They said, hi, little buddy. Greetings from Russia to all the world of happiness and kindness. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mike says, nope, no social justice stoves here. Mike says, percolating impelled water is also an option as long as there's plenty of room for gases expansion.
yeah. So what I have drawn up is a one-way flapper valve, a reservoir on the second floor that feeds down to it, gravity feed, and as it boils and creates that rush of water, and then that rush of water creates a little bit of a suction, the flapper valve opens and lets a little more water in, and so it creates that pump, and it turns it into steam at that point. After it goes through the radiators, it'll go back through a recondenser, and it'll become water again and be pushed right back into the same reservoir that it came from. And so it'll just be the same water going through over and over. I shouldn't give too much away.
Seeing this stove on the video is cool, but when I saw it in person, it was just unbelievable how clean and hot it burns. Oh,
Who's
thank
that?
you. That's Beaver Creek Farm Life
Oh,
from okay, I'm having a blank on his name.
me too. Oh,
I will tell you his name in just one
you're
second.
gonna look it up?
Travis, Alan Travis.
Oh, yeah.
That was Alan Travis.
Alan Travis. Yeah, well, and that's the thing. This video, I was looking through our old footage, and the first tests I did, I actually went to a workshop up at Aircrete Harry's in Colorado, and two of the people that were at my Do Carpenter University went up there with me as well, and like Greg from Canada, he was like, when people figure out what this thing can do, they're gonna go ape shit. Oh, anyways, sorry, boys. I have to apologize. I said a bad word.
I bet it looks pretty slick. It does. Jeff says 2 feet lifts on vertical walls. Jeff says should let me make a 3D design on Fusion 360. The Clink says everything takes longer than you think. Oh my gosh, everything does.
Right.
One of my jobs is stocking shelves off the pallets, and I look at all the pallets of booze, and all I see is 30 or 40 outers of wine or beer. Okay. The Clink says, and keep forgetting that there's a third, if not fourth dimension, and not only the loads, but that the time it takes back. Oh yeah, I bet that's insane. Julie Henderson says, been watching your
Julie.
you create Julie's aircrete challenge. It's been a great journey watching. Oh, you're such a genius, Darwin. Aw, thank you. See, told you you're a genius.
Yeah.
Hands clapping. Thank you. Mike says, very cool, Darwin. You're a clever guy. Yes. Earl says, I have a similar idea using a toilet tank as a reservoir.
Interesting.
Yeah. Maybe it's.
I'm not visualizing it right now.
Gabe says, again, your projects, I would recommend styro aircrete. Good insulation and stronger than aircrete.
Yeah, that's the workshop that I attended up there at Aircrete Harry's, and quite interesting. It is stronger than aircrete. The stuff we did was kind of a papercrete. You know, we took the paper mulch insulation that they use to blow into attics and whatnot, and we mixed it in with cement, and then just a ton of repurposed and ground up EPS, and I still have the block of it that I made, and it is pretty incredible stuff. And so in prior lives I've told people, yeah, we are gonna incorporate EPS in some areas. Some areas we're just gonna leave my same wall panel mix, and then some areas we might incorporate other things into it, and then we're going to take a thermal imaging camera and see what's best. You know, this is like HDC labs right here. My house is a laboratory. I do it all for you guys.
Yeah. Very much a lab. All right, you guys, we are done for today. So you guys have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.